When I tell you I made the most delicious meals this week for my family, and I was actually excited to cook dinner every night, and I made all 5 of these meals for under $100, you are gonna want this meal plan and grocery list. So this past week, I made slow cooker beef birria tacos. I also made Southwest chicken and bacon wraps with fries, a really delicious chicken piccata with mashed potatoes and seared zucchini. I also made a meal with sausage, baked potatoes, broccoli, and salad with buttermilk ranch, and then some Greek style shrimp bowls that had lemon rice, homemade hummus, pita, and a dill yogurt sauce. Yeah, everything was super great. So let me show you how I made it. So I ended up pricing this whole meal plan and grocery list off of Walmart prices, and I frequently do that here on my channel because Walmart is the most popular store here in America for groceries. However, I am confident that if you have a decently stocked fridge, pantry, and freezer, that you're going to be able to make these recipes for way under $100 like I was. So I actually went to Fairway to get my groceries for what I needed for this particular meal plan, which is a little bit more expensive than Walmart, but because of how my day was going that day and where I was at in town, it totally worked out fine. So I picked up some sausage, some flour tortillas, some cheese, some buttermilk, some frozen shrimp, and then when we get home, I'm going to show you everything I got and how much it cost. So here's everything that I got from Fairway for $67.07. So obviously when I made this grocery list, I priced everything at Walmart. So a lot of these items are going to be cheaper there, but I was on that side of town and taking kids to practice. So I got some burrito sized flour tortillas, and then 4 tomatoes, a bag of lemons. If I would have went to Walmart, I probably would have gotten a 2-pound bag, but I've got a couple lemons in my fridge I could use also. I got some chicken breast. So this is about 3.4 pounds. I'll need to trim that up and prep it. Some shrimp. I got this out of the freezer section. This was actually a cheaper price than Walmart has. Here's what the package looks like, but I just went ahead and soaked this in some cold water until it thawed out, and then I'm just drying it out on some paper towels. 2 packages of the Hillshire Farms beef, or Hillshire Farm beef smoked sausage. You can just get one of these if you want. It'll totally be enough for one dinner, but I wanted to have some leftovers. I got some iceberg lettuce, 1 big cucumber. This cucumber was actually, I think, twice the price that they are at Walmart. 3 zucchini, broccoli, some extra sharp cheddar cheese, French fries, and a little container of buttermilk. So we're going to start out with one of my favorite recipes this week, which was the chicken piccata. This turned out so good, and I will have all of the recipes that I used linked in the description box below, along with a shopping list and some pantry essentials that you're going to need if you want to make this particular menu. This particular meal, I was kind of inspired because I wanted to use up some chicken for a couple of the recipes, and so I knew I also wanted to make mashed potatoes with that. When I'm designing a menu like this, I'm really trying to find ingredients that I can get from the store that stretch across multiple meals, right? So we're going to end up using the chicken and the potatoes for multiple recipes. So I started out by peeling my russet potatoes and cutting those into large cubes and getting them into a pot to boil for the mashed potatoes. And then for the zucchini, so this is a super inexpensive vegetable side that you can have, and if you cook it right, everyone is going to love it. So I cut the zucchini into planks, and then I wanted to get started on all of the sort of components of the sauce for the chicken piccata. So I'm squeezing some lemon into a measuring cup, and then I added some chicken broth to that. This recipe also calls for capers, which I had in my pantry, so I rinsed those off. And then for the zucchini, I seasoned these with salt, pepper, some olive oil, and then some lemon zest and some lemon juice, and I'm just sauteing those in a pan. And then for the chicken, I needed this for a couple of different recipes. The chicken breast that I got from Fairway, I got it from the meat counter, and so it's kind of in these very large portions, and I wanted to basically trim those down and cut off any of the extra skin and fat and everything that's on those. So I went ahead and prepped that chicken for both recipes that I was going to use it for this week. Specifically for the chicken piccata, I just kind of cut the chicken into thinner cutlets, season those on both sides with salt and pepper, and then I'm just dredging those in some flour. I think one of the things that I really wanted to talk about in this particular video is the seasoning of your food. So one of the reasons why restaurant food is so good is that they season it so well, right? And so if you're wanting to kind of replicate that restaurant feel at home, it's really important that you season all of the components of your food and your recipes to your taste. So for the zucchini, I went ahead and sauteed those in a skillet, and then I'm just going to keep them warm in the oven while I finish the chicken piccata and the mashed potatoes. I'm taking those dredged chicken breasts and I'm just sauteing them in a mixture of butter and a little bit of olive oil. Just so you're aware, I did double the sauce component of this particular recipe because I knew I was going to serve this with mashed potatoes and I wanted to make sure that I had enough sauce for that. But once I boiled the potatoes, I just mashed those up with some butter, salt, pepper, milk, and a little bit of sour cream. And then I'm just sauteing that chicken in that butter mixture until it is nicely brown on both sides. I went ahead and removed that from the pan so I could whisk up my piccata sauce. In the skillet, I added my rinsed capers, and then I'm going to go ahead and add that chicken broth / lemon juice mixture. And you will want to kind of adjust the seasoning on this particular sauce to your taste. I did add some salt, some pepper, and just a pinch of sugar. It is very like tartly lemon flavored. So if you're not a huge fan of lemon, you're probably not going to like this recipe. But if you really like lemon chicken, you are going to love this recipe. So I put the chicken in back with the sauce once I tasted it and just simmered that for a little bit to thicken the sauce. The flour coating on that chicken will help thicken that. Mashed potatoes were done, so I'm just keeping those warm. And then you just want to serve the chicken piccata with the sauce over that mashed potato mixture. I did garnish with some fresh parsley, serve the zucchini on the side. This was a winner. Everyone loved it. No complaints. Definitely encourage you to make this recipe. Next up, I am going to do my Greek style shrimp bowls, but for this, I want to make some ultra creamy hummus. So this is a recipe that I got from America's Test Kitchen, and I will have it in the description box below. But this particular recipe is a little bit different because it does call to boil the canned chickpeas in some water with a little bit of baking soda before you make the hummus. And the reason for doing this is that it loosens the skins on the chickpeas, and this is definitely not necessary. Okay, so if you are short on time, just buy packaged hummus. But one thing that this recipe does do is it allows you to remove the skins on those chickpeas, and when you puree up the hummus mixture in your food processor, it makes for a super, super ultra creamy hummus. So if you have a little bit of extra time, I totally encourage you to try this recipe. In with the chickpeas, we're going to add some lemon juice and some crushed garlic. So I'm just kind of stirring that mixture together along with a little bit of salt. I put my boiled chickpeas into my food processor, added that lemon juice, salt, garlic, a little bit of cold water, and then you just want to go ahead and puree this. I love using the Soom brand tahini. It is like the smoothest, creamiest tahini I have ever used in my life. I'll link it down below. So I added that to the food processor while it was running, and then you want to go ahead and season it. So I added some ground cumin, and then as you are pureeing this, you just want to make sure that you're scraping down the sides of the food processor to make sure that everything is getting incorporated. I added some olive oil. If it's too thick, you can add more ice water like I did. You definitely want it in kind of this yogurt consistency. And then when it was done, I put it into a container, drizzled it with some olive oil, added some fresh chopped parsley to the top, and then you can store this in the refrigerator. This is going to make enough for these bowls, and then we'll have enough left over to snack on as well with veggies. Okay, so y'all know that I've been working with Hungry Root for a long time here on my channel, and they are offering my subscribers 40% off their first box of groceries / food, which is a fantastic deal. So I'm going to tell you about that and also why I love Hungryroot so much. In fact, I've been using them for years, even before they have sponsored me here on my channel. And the reason why I love Hungryroot is that you can get groceries and meals delivered right to your door. It's super simple. The thing that it really helps me with is meal planning, because I feel like a lot of the time meal planning is something that takes a lot of mental energy, like just figuring out what to make, what to buy at the grocery store, and Hungryroot is the cheat code for that, okay? So you can go on their site once you decide to sign up. The great thing about them is that they have a bunch of recipes on their site, and so they're going to send you everything you need to make those particular recipes. And so there's no food waste, there's no like wasting money on ingredients that you don't need. And then they also have prepared meals as well, which I've really been enjoying those lately. Side note, if you decide to sign up and try a Hungryroot box, I highly recommend you get their green curry chicken. It is so good. I've gotten that like seriously every time I order a box from them and eat it for lunch. It's delicious. Hungryroot has over 15,000 quick recipes shipped every week, and many of them are ready in just 15 minutes or less. So it's super easy to find options that fit your whole family's tastes and nutrition goals. So if you're on a special diet like gluten-free, dairy-free, high protein, or you're focused on gut health, Hungryroot helps you stay on track. You can actually go on their site and take a quick quiz, and their smart cart technology will build a weekly menu that fits your needs. It's just like having a personal meal planner who just gets it. So specifically talking about these meals that I made this week, many of these ingredients are available from Hungryroot as well. So you could get those and then supplement with what you already have in your fridge, freezer, and pantry to make this particular menu. And they use quality ingredients like hormone and antibiotic-free meat and seafood, organic produce, and non-GMO choices, so you can actually feel good about what you're eating. Highly recommend you check out Hungryroot, especially with this discount they are offering. They just make it super easy to get quality food delivered right to your door. So if you want to try out Hungryroot, like I said, they are offering my subscribers 40% off your first box. Plus, you are going to get a free item of your choice in every box for life. So I'll have a link in the description box below, or if you're on your phone, you can tap the screen right here. Just go to that link and use code JEN. Again, that's going to give you 40% off your first box plus a free item in each box for life. Just take advantage of it, especially for the 40% off. We all need help with grocery prices right now. It's totally insane, and I know you're gonna love it. So make sure you check that out in the description box below. Click the link and use code JEN. All right, so tonight we are making the shrimp, Greek shrimp bowls. So I'm gonna go ahead and get my rice started. That takes about, I don't know, like 40-ish, 35 to 40 minutes in the rice cooker. So I'm gonna add 2 cups of white rice. I'm gonna wash this rice, and then once I put it back in here, I'm gonna add 3 cups of water, and then I'll show you what I'm gonna season it with. All right, adding my water, I just make sure that there's no stray bits of rice that's stuck to the sides of the pot. And then I just have 1 lemon. I'm gonna squeeze the juice in there, and then I've also got some lemon peel, a little drizzle of olive oil, and then I have not used this yet. This is the Cavender's all-purpose Greek seasoning. I'm just gonna season this to taste. Since I haven't tried it yet, I don't know how salty it is, so I'm not gonna add a whole lot. But actually, I saw it on TikTok. Somebody said that you can make the best chicken salad with this seasoning, so I'm like, well, I gotta try that sometime. Okay, so in here we've got rice, water, seasoning, lemon juice, lemon peel, olive oil. I'm gonna set this to white rice, and we're good to go. So if you want to, you can season these shrimp like a day ahead of time and just leave them in the fridge. I just wouldn't put a lot of lemon juice in there because lemon juice does start to make like a ceviche out of the shrimp, right? So I'm just gonna use some lemon zest, and then when I finish the shrimp in the skillet, I'll probably add a little bit of lemon juice kind of once I taste that butter sauce. So what I'm gonna add to this is lemon zest, salt, pepper, olive oil, and then I've got some oregano also. I guess I could probably use that Cavender's Greek seasoning, but again, I haven't had it before. Be able to kind of control the seasonings for this. Got oregano. I'm eyeballing this. Crushed red pepper flake, not too much. Oil, just to get everything coated. Oh, I'm also gonna add some garlic. I could do garlic powder, but since I've got some cloves out here, I'm just gonna squeeze some fresh garlic in there. Shrimp is seasoned. I've got my big hex-clad skillet here, which I've really been loving this. Adam got it for me for Mother's Day. I'm just gonna have some butter in there with a little bit of oil to lower the smoke point. The shrimp like literally are gonna take like 3 minutes to cook, so I'm kind of waiting until the last possible second and the rice is done to do all that. So what I'm doing right now is just getting some of these toppings prepped for my Greek-inspired shrimp bowls. I'm also going to go ahead and saute my shrimp in that butter. I did add, some lemon juice and butter to the skillet to make a sauce. The rice cooker is perfect for rice. It makes perfect rice every time. I'll link the rice cooker that I use down below. And then I just warmed up the pitas in a little bit of oil in a skillet to make them warm, because there is nothing better than warm pitas with a little bit of hummus. Totally delicious. And then I went ahead and put together the bowls. Side note, the yogurt sauce, I did get that from Hungry Root. It's delicious. Also have the shrimp, rice, the hummus, the veggies that I chopped up along with the pita. This was totally a delicious dinner, and it made lots of leftovers and like little chopped veggies that we're going to use the rest of the week in different recipes. So I'm prepping the sauce for these Southwest chicken bacon wraps. In here, I've got some sour cream, some mayo, lime juice, buttermilk, cilantro. I just used 1 tablespoon of the sauce from the Chipotle and adobo, salt, pepper, and onion powder. So I'll just whisk this up and then we'll give it a taste and adjust the seasonings. Obviously, you can adjust these to your tastes also if you like it spicier or milder. I did add a little bit more salt and Chipotle sauce to here, but it's very good. I'm gonna go ahead and stick this in the fridge. I'm also crisping up some bacon to go in the wraps. So this is almost done. I'm just gonna remove it to a paper towel lined plate, let it cool until it's crispy, and then we'll chop it up to go with the chicken. So for the chicken, what you want to do is just drizzle that with a little bit of olive oil, and then you can season this with any taco seasoning that you have on hand. This is actually a packet of taco seasoning that I got from Hungry Root, but you can use whatever you have in your pantry. The key to this is just to season the chicken before you saute it, and that's what's going to give it its flavor. Also, I would say in particular for different seasoning mixes, just check on the ingredient list, and if they have salt in them, don't add salt. But since this one did not, I went ahead and added salt. Got my fries in the oven. I'm also going to shred up my cheese. These wraps turned out so delicious. Everyone loved them. I'm also chopping up some lettuce and some tomato. I often feel like I forget about wraps as a dinner option, but the reason why I love it is because I feel like everyone in my family kind of likes different things and ingredients. And so with wraps, you can really just prep all of the ingredients and customize them to each person in your family. Once that chicken is sauteed, I went ahead and chopped that up and put it back in with the juices so it wasn't dry. I built why did I say builded past tense? I built my wraps with all of the veggies, the chicken, the cheese, that Chipotle ranch that I made, and wrapped those up cut them in half. Obviously serve them with those super quick fries that I got in the freezer section at the grocery store. And this is a winner. Like I said, I'll have this recipe linked down below. Super delicious. Kind of takes a bit of prep to, you know, make all the components come together, but definitely recommend it. Okay, so I'm going to start on the sauce for the birria tacos that they cook in. So I've got my dried chilies here that I pulled out of the pantry. These last for a long time and they are super inexpensive. So I'm gonna get, let's see, we need 3 guajillo chilies, ancho chili, and 1 pasito chili. So you wanna take the seeds and the stems off of these, and the easiest way to do that is just with a kitchen shears. So most of the time I just cut down the chili like this, empty out all the seeds, and then you do want to wash these off because sometimes they do have debris on them. So we're just going to add these to a pot of water and bring it to a boil, and then turn the heat off and let them soak for about 30 minutes. While the chilies are soaking, I'm gonna go ahead and saute up my beef. So this is an arm roast. You could use chuck roast, beef shank, basically any type of slow cooking beef. So I've just kind of cut this roast up into kind of, I don't know, smallish pieces compared to what it was. I am going to brown this in this skillet here and then just stick it in the slow cooker. The chilies are done soaking. So one thing to keep in mind when you soak chilies is that, now some recipes are different, but I've always followed the advice that you don't utilize the soaking water in the actual chili sauce because it can be a little bit bitter. So in this blender cup here, I've got a cup of fresh water. I'm also going to add to that some oregano, 6 cloves of garlic, and 1 chipotle in adobo sauce, and then we'll blend this up to pour over the beef. So I've got my beef in the slow cooker. I'm gonna add some seasonings. This has salt, beef bouillon powder, black pepper, clove, and cinnamon. I've also got a couple bay leaves in there as well. And then I've got about a tablespoon of fresh thyme. We're gonna add that. Here is the chili puree. We'll pour that over. I'm also gonna add some water, so I'm basically just using the blender cup. Rinse it out with water. We don't lose any of that chili paste. Okay, this is gonna cook on high for probably about 6 hours. Our beef birria is smelling delicious, and I did check this to make sure that the beef was tender. So we're gonna remove the beef from the liquid in the slow cooker and add it to I just have a 9x13 dish over here so I can shred it. Okay, and then this is my fat separator, which I use fairly often when I make stuff in the crock pot like this. So I'll link this down below. It's by OXO. It's great because it's got a strainer on it so we can strain off the onions. And then you always wanna make sure when you pour this into here, you keep this spout plugged because it can splash up through there. So I'm just gonna pour as much of the liquid as I can fit into here. Since I wanted this to be shredded finely, I just put on some gloves and used my hands since that's the best way to get all of the meat off without the pieces of fat. So here's the meat. What I'm gonna do now is see how this fat is rising to the top here in this broth. We're gonna use this fat on the top to fry the birria tacos in, but I'm gonna take some of this broth and put it back in with the meat just so it doesn't get dry. Okay, so we got our tortillas dipped in the fat. I'm gonna have to use both hands for this, so I'm gonna put the camera down, but basically we're gonna fold these over and fry the tacos. We got some beef in there, and then this is Oaxaca cheese. Sometimes it depends on where you get it at. Sometimes it'll say Mexican melting cheese, sometimes it'll say quesadilla cheese, sometimes, yeah, I don't know, it's labeled a bunch of different things. So with the corn tortillas, you're just gonna dip those in that fat from the birria broth and then put them in a skillet, add some of that cheese and that shredded beef, and then just basically fry them kind of like you would a quesadilla. You want to get them kind of crispy on the outside, and then pour some of that warm broth into a bowl because you're going to dip the birria tacos into here. And then in with that broth, you can add some chopped onion and some cilantro. That really gives the broth a lot of flavor. And these are just classic. Like, everyone loves these. Even my daughter, who is not a huge fan of beef, really loved these. I did not put cheese in hers, but basically you just take the birria, I think it might be called like quesadilla, and then dip it in that broth with the cilantro and onion. So good. Kind of a lot of work, but worth it. So tonight for dinner, we are going to cook up this beef sausage. I am making baked potatoes in the air fryer. So funny story, I've actually never made baked potatoes in the air fryer before. So all I did was I washed up my potatoes, and then I just poked them with a knife so they don't explode. Put them in the air fryer at 400 degrees for 40 minutes. I'm gonna flip them halfway through. I did drizzle them with just a little bit of oil and salt, just so the skin is nice and crispy. So then for the baked potatoes, this is optional, but I do have this huge batch, which I need to figure out what I'm gonna do with these before they all go bad. But I have to still have this huge batch of green onions that I got at the farmer's market. So we'll put that on potatoes, shred up this cheese. I gotta get the sour cream out, and then I'm also gonna make some homemade ranch dressing. Go with a salad, sour cream for the potatoes and for the ranch dressing. Steam up some broccoli, and I've got some bacon for the baked potatoes as well. I'm making ranch dressing for our salad. So in here, I've got sour cream, mayo, buttermilk, really thinly sliced green onion. I put some dry parsley, dill, garlic powder, onion powder, salt, pepper, and some lemon juice. So I just do this by taste. So we'll taste it and see if it needs anything different. I feel like it needs a little bit more garlic, pepper. Sometimes I like to put a little titch of paprika in there. So I'm gonna pour this into a jar, stick it in the fridge, and then we'll just chill it until we eat. So with ranch dressing, obviously, this is something that if I would have had it together a little bit more, I would have made this ahead of time, but you know, whatever. We'll go ahead and get our lettuce washed up for our salads. Since I've got some leftover lemon here from the ranch, I'll just squeeze that into the lettuce, and then when I wash this, if we have any leftover, it does help the lettuce from browning a bit in the fridge. Okay, so I do not have any croutons, but I do have some bread in the fridge I want to get used up. So I'm just gonna cut this into cubes and put it in a skillet with some olive oil, toast it up with some salt. Very quick way to make delicious salad croutons. And then we'll go ahead and shred up our cheese for the salad, and if people want cheese on their salad, and the baked potatoes. I always like to shred my cheese on a piece of wax paper just because it's less mess that way, and then if I want to move it into a different container, I can. Super easy. I like to cook my broccoli in the microwave, which I'm sure some people think is weird, but it works. So this is the broccoli that I washed and cut up earlier this week, which makes it super easy. So typically what I do is I just add some water and salt to here. Not a lot of water, like maybe just like 2 or 3 inches of water in the bottom. Put some plastic wrap over it, stick it in the microwave for 6 minutes, and it's perfect. This salad, I've also got cucumber, left over from this week. Red onion, tomatoes. I have tomatoes in the fridge. We'll cut those up, and then I'll go ahead and get my sausage sliced up and into a skillet. Also, easy open my ass. So what I did with that sausage is I just sauteed it on either side until it got nice and brown. I served this with the air fryer baked potatoes, butter, sour cream, green onions, broccoli, and then we had that salad and tomatoes with buttermilk ranch on the side. So freaking good. Also, if you guys missed it in my last video, I made breakfast enchiladas. You definitely need to check that out. I'll put the link to the video on the screen right here so you can click on that. And also don't forget to check out Hungry Root with that 40% off your first box plus free items for life.